with the Kaduna Assembly have actually gone this route.
Yeah.
Naira abuse like Bobrisky, FCC goes after Cubana chief priest. Top strip, Nigeria's FX reserves deep by over $2 billion in 1 month, lowest in 6 years. Army to build personal homes for troops fighting insecurity. PDP reps caucus divided as Northern Central stakeholders meet today. PDP reps caucus divided as Northern Central stakeholders meet today. And of course, for this morning, to help us with some analysis, Ladeji Alabi is here. Welcome, Ladeji.
Good morning, Evelyn. Good morning, Femi.
Thank you, Ladeji. Thank you.
So let me just quickly take you on, this particular one. Nigeria's FX reserves deep by over $2 billion in 1 month, lowest in 6 years. There have been speculations, there have been reports that the Naira gains we are having recently has been as a result of the, Central Bank of Nigeria, putting ends into our foreign reserves, depleting the dollars and all of that. Your thoughts on this?
Well, it is what it is, Evelyn. 2 days ago, I think you asked me a question around that, and I tried as much as possible to dodge it. But now it is obvious it's not coming from me. It is audible to the deaf and visible to the blind that Naira gain against dollar is not an economic gain. It is not that we are exporting that is making Naira to be stronger. And I even said it that if you check some of the currencies that are even stronger than Naira in the world market, they are having issues against dollar. So how are we managing that? Just in the space of 2, 3, 4 weeks, something that was as high as 1,006, 1,007 is coming down as low as 1,200 Naira. If you say these things, people feel you are not happy. No, because it will mean a bigger danger for us. We are dipping ends into what is meant to be our reserve, and we are using it to, subsidize the Naira against dollar. Then, at another hand, we are hiking the price of custom. As a matter of fact, what's the import duty on so many of our goods now is on the high rate. Food inflation is on the very high. Custom duty on the high. A lot of things are on the high. So it is just the reality of things that we are not making Naira to gain against dollar because we are producing. We are only subsidizing it. We are only bringing from our reserve to augment for the excesses, and it means a bigger danger for us because if we don't settle the economy, and how do we make the economy grow? First, we need to tackle insecurity. Tackle insecurity, then face food inflation. Once those things come into place, we begin to export, we have something we can gain, then we are talking about serious gain for the Naira against dollar. Yeah. But in reality now, well, I don't see it as a serious gain against the dollar. It is just what it is.
It's just what it is. And, people are waiting for the explanation that will be given by the economic team of Mr. President on, this particular development.
They always have a defense. They can even tell you they've performed one wonder and it is yielding a, but in reality, if you sit professional economists down, they will tell you that is what we are doing. And it means more danger for us in few months' time or in few years' time.
All right, thank you. That will be all from Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, interesting, because it's one thing to see that Naira is gaining against foreign currencies, especially the dollar, but the impact is not being felt. And I think that's the conversation many Nigerians want to know. How come, or what are we doing to make those gains? And it's not reflecting. But we have our fingers crossed. The Nigerian Tribune is next. Nigerian Tribune. Damagun division in PDP reps set stone ahead of the neck. G60 squares up to House Minority Leader. Resist confidence vote as caucus issues 3-month ultimatum to Tinubu to end insecurity. As caucus issues 3 months ultimatum to Tinubu to end insecurity. The question many persons want to say, so after 3 months is gone and insecurity, has not abated, so what will you do? Okay, it's not even the entire house, it's just some caucus somewhere. Flawed. Lagos, Rivers, Anambra, 28 other states are at high risk from April. And federal government suspends mining activities within OAU and environs. I think when this was brought up initially, there were denials upon denials. Now we are hearing the suspension of those activities. And security, Tinubu is turning fear to hope. Omokri, that's Reno Omokri there. Bandits killed 26 in Benue. It's a sad one. I will still said it here, Evelyn. If you can recall, as these things are happening, in reality, we are not going to deceive ourselves. The next thing you will ask is, who is next and where is next? Because it doesn't look like this thing is abating very soon. 26 human lives taken in Benue. That's what it means. North-South battle over chairmanship of NAS Pension Board intrigues delaying takeoff of board 1 year after. Federal government commences disbursement of 200 billion naira palliative loan to manufacturers and others. Dangote crashes diesel price to 1,000 naira per litre. We asked Ladeji about that. And land dispute. Armed men attack Ekiti local government secretariat and injure workers. That's bizarre. In Kaduna Assembly set up 13-man panel to probe El-Rufai's 8 years. And NCAA suspends licenses of 3 private jet owners. That was a story yesterday where Festus Keyamo said, I'm coming for you, especially private jet owners and the activities, or the operations rather. Kano Anti-Graft Commission fires fresh charges against Ganduje. EFCC to arraign Cubana chief praised over Naira abuse today. So many talking points here, but one after the other. Ladeji, in quick succession, Dangote crashes diesel price to 1,000 naira per litre. Has it taken effect? Can you confirm?
Well, I can't confirm yet, but if it is a reality, I think it's a good thing. At least it will be.
How much are we doing?
Currently, we do around 1,400, 1,600. You know, that has been per litre. You know, diesel is one of those products that about 3, 4, 5 years ago, you buy a litre for as low as maybe 250, 250 naira. But it just jumped from that range, and now we shuffle between 130. At the time, it got as high as 1,600 naira. So if we have someone bringing 1,000 naira to the table, you know, what we need is competition in the sector. I think beyond Dangote, other, you know, marketers also need to come in. Let's have competition. If somebody comes tomorrow and brings a lower price,
Dangote has a refinery. Other marketers don't have
what I'm trying to say is that if we have other people that can also go into the business, no, it's not easy. But if we have competition, you know, and also don't forget that the sole responsibility of importing now, quote and unquote, government said they have handed over to NNPC Limited, which doesn't allow some other people to also. So if we only have NNPC bringing it in, that means it is what they buy from NNPC that they will sell. So if they buy at 1,000 naira from NNPC, they put the cost of their own production, cost of their transportation to it, and they also want to make some gain. So, but if we have competition, if Dangote is bringing 1,000 naira to the table, if someone brings something less, people will approach him too. So I think it's a good development. Gradually, let's just keep moving.
A few days ago, we saw videos of Dangote companies
trucks being loaded.
They are loading. It's dispensing. So we'll wait to see the effect. Actually, again, very quickly. This one says EFCC to arraign Cubana chief priest over Naira abuse today. It was first. Bobrisky has been sentenced to 3 months. Cubana priest 6 months. Thank you. And wow, 6 months. Interesting. And EFCC to arraign Cubana chief priest today over Naira abuse today. Way to go. Or you think this has been selective?
First off, I like the fact that we are bringing some.
These
sanity.
are socialites.
Yes, I like that we are bringing some sanity into our system. You can't see people do that to dollars. You can't see them do that to pounds or euro. You know, it is only here. Even if people do it to dollar, it is here in Nigeria. We should give our currency a bit of respect. But the issue I have with EFCC is we've seen governors, we've seen politicians spraying naira. Go after them too. Don't be selective.
Throwing it into the air.
Throwing it into the air. We've seen people. An House of Rep member from the north. I can't remember the local, the places was represented. From the top of his house was seen in the video,
balcony,
spreading naira to people.
And people are scampering.
And people are scampering. People will get injured. Go after these guys too. Go after them. Even if you say they have immunity, release a press statement. Let them know you condemn their act. And in fact, I don't like the fact that we are only giving people 6 months. For that act, it should be about 2 years.
Of course, it doesn't boil down to what we like. It boils down to the law. And very quickly,
I just feel we should just add a bit to
very
it.
quickly.
Let's bring sanity back.
In 1 minute, Kano Anti-Graft Commission files fresh charges against Ganduje. What's going on in Kano?
Well, just as what is going on, in Kaduna. I think our politicians, most of the time, when they are lying, you don't get to see the reality. The same El-Rufai, I'm just diving into Kaduna now. The same El-Rufai that is coming out, if he had gotten a ministerial position, you won't hear anything. Ganduje, you don't forget the time Ganduje went to court to go and tell the court that Kano State should not probe him. And all of a sudden, we don't know the abracadabra that is happening. We just add his word in Ganduje word. Have suspended him. And the
That's
next
a counter suspension.
Oh, another counter suspension.
Of course, suspension of those that suspended.
Oh, so I've not gotten that update actually.
No.
So,
All
but
right.
I just feel.
But is this for the good of the people, really?
Well, if they can really follow.
It's just a part also.
I know it's a part also, but in some cases also, because in most cases, Nigerians politicians, their loyalty doesn't stand with the constitution of Nigeria. It only stands with their party, stand with where they are eating from today. If they can see this through,
All right.
I feel it will bring a bit of sanity. Sincerely, you can't just leave government, squander money, borrow money. As a matter of fact, someone like Ade Sedika should also have been picked up.
All right.
Because it's scandalous without Nigerian hair issue.
We really have to move. Evelyn is next.
All right, we move on to the Guardian newspaper for today. On the Guardian newspaper, biometrics and SIM registration deadlock. Endless enrollment gulps 57 billion naira in 13 years amid complaints, protests. That story is on page 6, and of course you can see the figures and data there on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. 13 years of SIM registration in Nigeria. NIMC issues 105 million NINs. SIM, NIN, BVN, PVC, immigration data harmonization slows. Constant biometric registration worries Nigerians. And of course, SIM registration gulps over 57 billion naira as NCC commits 6.1 billion naira and 220 million active telephone lines, 99 million dormant lines. I mean, you can see the figures and the data there on The Guardian. Away from that, operators consider tariff hike to hedge of rise in OPEX. And Reps Caucus gives Tinubu ultimatum to end insecurity. That's on news page 3. Again, Obi highlights insensitive, undeserving allocations in 2024. Get the gist of that on news page 3. PDP governors Atiku Wike camps intensify positions at make or ma neck. And Lagos court sentences Carpenter to life jail over defilement of primary 6 pupil. Yes, Lagos always let them know you do not mess with our girls. And CAA issues 3-day ultimatum for review of private aircraft operators and licenses. Security operatives uncover hideout of Yoruba Nation agitators in Ibadan. And that's on news page 7 of the Guardian newspaper for today. Ladiji, let me take you on this issue of biometrics and SIM registration. Nigerians are concerned, they are worried, they are tired, especially with the every time you have to do this for your NIN, your BVN, your PVC, different cards for different reasons, and Nigerians are calling for harmonization of all these different cards into one that I, as a Nigerian rather, can have and use. Your thoughts?
Well, I think in most cases, our policies, when we do something, we don't do it for, we don't think them through. We only do them because the president or whoever is in charge feel out of impulse, I just feel we should do this. It is saddening to know that If you go to some of these telecommunication offices around town today, you see people lose man hour out there, sitting out there, waiting to get their SIM linked. These are things you should naturally be able to do when you are at home. But you go. I went to one of my banks, to update something on my account. I went with my international passport. They said no, they can't take it because it doesn't have my NIN on it. I said I'm not the one that manufactured it, but I submitted my NIN. Again, you go to a bank, they will tell you the NIN you are bringing, the portal where they are to update your NIN is not working.
But isn't this thing supposed to be linked? I mean, if you have your international passport,
that is what I'm saying.
You submitted your NIN.
You submitted your NIN for your international passport. You submitted your NIN for your driver's license. You submitted it. I check all those documents that I have. I look at my wallet one day. What am I doing with all this? National ID card. It is only in Nigeria where I see that national ID card gets expires. National ID card there, NIN, NIN paper, another one, driver's license, health insurance,
PVC.
Then you get PVC. Now you have your international passport. 6 documents. What are we doing with those? You can have just a single one that gives you a social security number. That the moment they paste your number on it, every of your details comes out. But it is sad, and it is just because we don't have the political will. Check it. You have some of these tech banks that they don't even have an office, but they verify your address. They do KYC for you. They confirm everything they need to do about you. All these things, technology-wise, we can get them done. But because we are too lazy people, we don't think through our policies most of the time. And most of the time, we just do some of these policies to get some of these, the boys some money, and we move on. And then the next time, another person will come to do another thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your submission, Ladeji. That would be all from the Guardian newspaper.
And of course, all on the segment as well. Thank you for your submissions. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
Ladeji Alabi. We take this break from here, and when we return, we will be talking about the polity, the state of the nation, and matters arising, the agitations here and there, and then the cause of these agitations, restructuring, true federalism, many things we have on our plate today. You want to meet our guest, but our fingers are crossed. We'll be back. All right, you're welcome back. And the conversation starts right now. Just like I said before the break, we'll be looking into the state of the nation, matters arising, different issues. Just at the weekend, some agitators, invaded the Oyo State Government Secretariat. They were rounded off, by the way. But then the agitation was what is called the Yoruba Nation agitation. And many persons, many proponents of that particular cliche have even dissociated themselves from those invaders. By the way, they have been paraded, most 21 of them. But we learned they were being backed up by a certain character. But it's not just about these individuals. It's about if these agitations arrive, if actually what they are calling for is logical, because it's about, we spoke to, one of the Yoruba Nation comrade yesterday. He said he is the youth ambassador yesterday. Comrade Omaya said their own agitation is about secession from Nigeria, and that they have many persons who are on the same plate. We try to ask him many questions. Is that agitation really, still, does it still suffice right now? We look into that and more. That governance, true federalism, the state of our nation, many persons, the Constitutional Review Committee, Constitution Review Committee is on looking into, the flaws of the 1999 Constitution and how they can be strengthened as well. Some have called for a boycott of the 1999 Constitution and, of course, maybe a brand new one as well. True federalism that have been bandied around. In fact, many persons will say it depends on who you're asking. We will try and open and see today's conversation as time will permit us this morning. We are very delighted this morning to be joined by a media icon of repute, of course, an elder statesman by every right, and of course, former Nigerian ambassador to the Philippines, Dr. Yemi Farumbi. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody there on Morning Spring, and to all our good list viewers, wherever they are, I say good morning.
Thank you very much, sir. Good to have you here. Very quickly, let's start, with what happened at the weekend. Some agitators invaded your state government secretariat in a bizarre fashion, and for whatever their intentions were, they were rounded up very easily. They are being paraded by the police. They stated their intention, from young persons to very elderly persons who are involved in these. And many persons are saying, what exactly are your agitation about? You're talking about Yoruba nation. Do you still need it? In fact, some persons are saying, you have one of your kind in power right now. Whatever your agitations are, shouldn't you be talking with, one of your kind that is the president, President Bola Tinubu, instead of trying to invade? And what kind of statement are you making? Sir, when you heard of that incident, how did you react to it?
It was tragic. I was very, very, very sad because I was very near the incident. I was passing by when the incident was happening. And I thought it was unfortunate. Unfortunate because I thought Yoruba people are more enlightened, more educated, more knowledgeable, for them to be embarking on such lunatic ventures. To me, it was sad for some ragtag to invade a secretariat on a Saturday and believe that if they plant a flag there, that meant they have declared a nation state. I thought they ought to be more intelligent than that. They ought to know that if you want to establish a nation state out of Nigeria, there are processes. You are already talking of a secession. We are not going to fight a war like Southern Sudan did for 18 years, or like Eritrea did with Ethiopia for 60 years, or you're going to have a massive violence like you had in Yugoslavia. You don't just wake up one morning and say you are declaring a nation out of a republic that is recognized by the United Nations. And you say that if you plant your flag, that meant you have established a nation. Do they know what is meant by a nation state? And I believe the most illiterate Yoruba person will know that a nation state will have a government. It's not only a flag, it will have a government, and the government will consist of an executive, a legislative, and a judiciary. I expect that they will know that a nation state will have a capital, it will have a defined territory. These are basic issues that I believe any literate in the state will know. And so for some people to just think that if they planted a flag somewhere that they have declared a nation state was very, very unfortunate. I thought that these Yorubas were too civilized, too educated. And I was alarmed at the end to find that even a lecturer of a Federal College of Education was there. Somebody who ought to be literate enough. He claimed that there had been a referendum conducted by who, sanctioned by who, supervised by who. I mean, these were basic questions. I felt absolutely humiliated as a Yoruba man because I thought we were too decent, too civilized, too advanced, too knowledgeable to be involved in such a thing. It was unfortunate.
Yes, unfortunate. That's the way you describe it. And in your introduction, you said you felt very embarrassed that Yoruba people who you think should know better are the ones doing this. But I'd like to ask you, do you think this particular group speaks for the generality of the people? Yes, all of them might be of the Yoruba extraction, but do they really have the mandate of the people? Because many persons, just like you have eloquently said, are saying, I didn't send them. They are not speaking for me. So is it really about the Yoruba people or just few individuals who are maybe probably overzealous? Does it represent, do they speak for the generality of the Yoruba race?
Absolutely no. They were not speaking for the Yoruba because the Yoruba had not been assembled anywhere to agree that they were going to have a secession from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When Biafra wanted to secede, they had a meeting in Enugu, a consultative assembly across classes, across political divides, across ethnic and religious divides, and they mandated Ojukwu that, yes, you can proceed to declare the Republic of Biafra. When Czechs and Slovaks were going to separate in what we call the Velvety handshake, the Slovak assembly, the Czech assembly, they met and individually agreed before they started negotiation for a break. The Yorubas are not sat anywhere. And I believe I'm senior enough to know this, either as a broadcaster or as a media man or as a politician or as a social commentator, to say that the Yoruba never at any point agreed to a secession. I know that when last the Yorubas assembled, and they assembled in the Palace of Alake in 1994, and they prepared what is called the Yoruba Agenda, which was launched at the Onika Stadium in Lagos. What the Yorubas asked for, and clearly, was a rewriting of the Constitution of Nigeria in such a way that it will reflect what they call the true tenets of federalism. What the Yorubas agreed in the last collective meeting they had was to ask for a restructuring of Nigeria. They have never at any point agreed that they were going to secede out of Nigeria. I was involved in the 1994, and I recall that in the latter days of Abacha, there was a meeting of the Yorubas in the Premier Hotel, and under the leadership, the joint leadership of Ajashe and Baba Akiloye. What we agreed there was not a secession of Yoruba, but was a rewriting of the Constitution of Nigeria to embody the basic federalism values that we found in the 1963 Republican Constitution. I was there. So I was also at another meeting of the Yorubas in the Premier Hotel, where we selected Abraham Adesoya as the spokesperson then of the Yoruba, and that's the last Yoruba meeting that I had ever had. We also didn't agree on a secession. We talked on the true tenets of federalism, that we wanted a federation where the federated units would be a counterbalance to the center. We wanted a federation where the center will not be so preponderant with responsibilities and functions, will not be so preponderant with revenue aggregation that they will dominate the city. That was what we asked for. The Yorubas had never at any time in recent history sat down as a collective and decided that they wanted to opt out of Nigeria. Yet there are extremists, agitators, unhappy, perhaps about a few circumstances. And a large number of them are living in outside Nigeria. They are not even part of the intricacies of what is happening in Nigeria. And they started what they call a call for a Yoruba nation. And I always laugh, because there's a Yoruba nation. A nation in political science is a collective of people sharing common history, common culture, common tradition. But it becomes a nation state when it has a government. The Yorubas had never been a nation state in history. We have always been a confederation of kingdoms. Even when we had the Oyo Empire at its greatest height, not all the so-called Yorubas of today were called Yorubas then. You will recall that as recent as 1859, when the newspaper came into Nigeria, it was called Ìwé Ìròyìn Ẹ̀gbá àti àwọn Yorùbá, which meant Ẹ̀gbá at that time was not Yoruba. Owu was not called Yoruba. Ijebu was not called Yoruba. Ekiti was a wealth of 16 kingdom. Akoko was a shelter zone of multi-languages. So we had never been a nation state, but we had always been a nation because we spoke the same language, we shared the same culture, we shared the same ancestry to Oduduwa. And of course, the Ijebus have never accepted that their ancestor is Oduduwa. So we have never been governed as a nation state, but we had always been a nation sharing cultural people. And it is on record that the Yorubas are never in the history of Nigeria called for a secession. When the Hausa Fulani walked out of the National Parliament in 1953 and called for a secession, Awolowo led the Yorubas to go to Kano to appeal to them that there was beauty in all of us being united as a country. When in 1966, the Muritala hot-head people wanted to secede in what they called Araba. The British and the American diplomats prevailed on them, and the Yorubas participated actively in the 1967 ad hoc constitutional conference under the leadership of their greatest leader they've ever produced, Awolowo. They never asked for a secession. The Yorubas never. The other tribes had.
All right.
And the reason why we don't is that we are a natural accommodating people. And I go back into history. When the whites came into Africa, as late as 1847, an author called William Bascom said that of all the towns in Africa, 47% of the urbanization of all of Africa was in Yoruba land. And why was it so? It's not because of internal growth. It is because we attract other people to come into our areas, and that is why our cities were growing. That is why all over Yorubas, you find Hausa, you find Fulani, you find Angas, you have TVs, you have all of them from all over Nigeria.
All right,
that is who we are.
All right.
We have never agreed to a secession.
All right.
But I know that the Yorubas have asked for a rewriting of the Constitution of Nigeria to re-enshrine the true tenets of federalism.
All right. Very, educative one. You've really gone way back to establish, the path in which the Yorubas have been toying. And it's good to know that you said that last time there was an assembly of what you could call a Yoruba people was in 1994, and you said you were even there. Now, moving away from the invasion of what happened, that bizarre incident in Ibadan, many persons have been calling, there have been calls in different quarters, that, the Yoruba should be protected, or some have said the Yoruba should even secede. And it's good to know that you said there has been no convention that as the generality of the people are agreeing to secession, that the last time there was an assembly was in 1994. But from 1994 to 2024, that's almost 20 years, sir. But, one would say there is the agitation from a group, from Professor Banji Akintoye-led group. The agitations were there. The ones led by Chief Sunday Adeyemo, popularly called Sunday Igboho, and all these things. At the time, it was the Yoruba people should be protected from raiders, from invaders. So, but times have changed from 1994 to 2024. Sir, do you still think those persons making those agitations, like they don't have their reasons? There were incidences in Oyo State in which some invaders, more raiders, they will come into some communities, kill the people, destroy their farmlands, and one will say this is the reason why there was agitation, that some of these people should even leave. In as much as you're not a Yoruba person, you should leave our farmlands. You know what I'm talking about. But now, you are saying Yorubas have never been part of it. But are you saying those agitations doesn't have a merit? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Agitation for security protection is different from agitation for secession. The Yorubas who called for a rearrangement of Nigeria, they know that the first responsibility of any government is to guarantee the security of life of people. And they are aware that part of the defect of this constitution is that it has over-centralized all the functions. Take security, for example, which is what Sunday Igboho fought about. Sunday Igboho went to Ibarapa to defend his mother's people who were being assaulted by some Fulani. They said they were from wherever they are. Some said they were from outside the country. So he went to prevent them. Under the criminal code of this country, you are allowed to defend yourself if anybody attacks you. So it is perfectly in order to defend his people if they were being attacked by invaders. But if the security architecture are reflected the true tenets of federalism, there will have been a local government police, there will have been a state police, there will have been a national police, and all of them will have been working together. I know that America has 22,320 independent police formation, which means that the police formation in my local government in Fedayo will be independent to take responsibility for some security things affecting Fedayo. They know all the villages in the less city. They know all the associated villages with Okeoila and Ora. When there is difficulty, then the state police will move in to assist, or the police from Ila local government or Boluwaduro and all of that. But you have one centralized police under one inspector general of police who will post a Kanuri man to Ora, who doesn't speak Ibomina, who doesn't understand these people. That is the defect in the federalism that we're operating. And that was what the Yoruba have been agitating. Rewrite this constitution, rearrange the structure, let the federative unit take responsibility for what they ought to be allowed to do. The center cannot be responsible for everything. So the fact that you have an invader, the answer to it is not a secession. The answer to it is look at the security architecture of Nigeria. We are not debating state police. That's not the kind of thing that the Yorubas want. The Yorubas want to look at the whole of Nigeria. Look at every section. Look at security. Look at agriculture. Look at education. Look at power. Look at industry. Look at transportation. And then rearrange Nigeria in a proper way. In 2002, the governors of the South wanted to start a railway line in the Southwest, using Odua as a vehicle. But they couldn't, because we had a federation that vested railway power then in the federal government. In 1999-2000, Tinubu, as governor of Lagos, wanted to start an independent power project. He couldn't. And he was fighting and fighting before he could use his own money to generate power so that the people of Lagos can run their industries. We do not need a piecemeal approach to this thing. We need a comprehensive approach to it.
All right, Doctor.
Why is it so difficult? So that is what the Yorubas want. If you do that, the local police, the state police, will be able to take care of all of these things. And we are not saying go and create a state police and keep the money for policing the federal government. In the First Republic, federal government had control over only 20% of the revenue. Today they control 53%. So even if you create a state police today, where would the state find the money? So those are issues. The Yorubas want the whole house looked at critically. Look even at education. Why is federal government having secondary school called command secondary schools or unity schools? What is their business in it? What is the business of federal government looking for land to plant wheat and to plant rice? Where are the people they are going to use? The people they are going to use are local government. The money for agricultural development, agricultural expansion, agricultural growth should be in local government. The research should be in federal government. That is how it is done. That is the problem we are asking for. It is not a decision that will solve that problem. No. So, I mean, there are things that have happened. And I will tell you that after 1994, the Yorubas agitated in what was called the Sovereign National Conference. Then we wanted the Sovereign National Conference. What was it to do? To restructure Nigeria. Tinubu was part of it. When Adeko came, they were talking of true federalism. They even wrote constitutions, specimen constitution, led by Chief Anthony Nahuru, who was part of the external wing of Nadeko, to which Tinubu belonged. Those were the things that the Yorubas have been agitating for. Let us rearrange Nigeria in a way that everybody can take care of things that are particular to him, and things that are particular to all of us can be taken over by the center. Right, and I still believe I agree with them. That is the solution. And I believe that a sensitive government ought to have been listening. I know some extremists, they were unhappy. They can go to the farms in Okeogun now. They can produce their beans, they can produce their cowpeas, they can produce their grain, they can be the grain basket of the whole of Nigeria. They can go there because some lunatics will invade their farms, not only destroy their farms with their cattle, will rape their wives and then rape their daughters. They have a reason to be angry, but the answer to it is not a secession. That's what the Yorubas have been arguing. I was involved in the 2005 Constitutional Assembly. I was the chairman of the technical committee of the Yorubas. So I know what I'm talking about.
All right, Doctor. Permit me to butt in here,
what
Doctor.
The Yorubas want is a rearrangement of Nigeria in a way that it will be convenient for everybody.
All right. Doctor, thank you so much for that elaborate submission. But as you know, that the 10th Senate and 10th National Assembly under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio set up a committee to look into the review of the 1999 Constitution, a rejig of the 1999 Constitution, calling for papers, proposals, communiques from different areas, different sectors, different stakeholders of the country, so that we can have a review of the 1999 Constitution. And like you said, what we want, or what the Yorubas need, is not secession, but a rejig of our Constitution, or an entirely new Constitution. But with the development, coming from the National Assembly, do you think this is what you need? I mean, when I mean you, I mean the Yoruba people. This is what you need at this time, a rejig of the 1999 Constitution, so that everyone, every interest can be covered.
I can tell you categorically that that's not what the Yorubas want. They believe that the 1999 constitution is fake. That he lied against himself by saying we the people of Nigeria here assemble give a constitution to ourselves. Because the 1999 constitution didn't have a national conference behind it. It didn't have a constituent assembly behind it. It had a Nikitobi committee of 27 people, and they sat down and they wrote a decree that became a constitution. There was no input by anybody. So they believe that the 1999 constitution in Israel is fake, that what they need therefore is a new constitution.
But the National Assembly is not bringing in a new constitution,
using
Doctor.
this opportunity, in my view, to make themselves good and to make themselves rich. Is there any National Assembly that has never set up a constitutional review committee? What have we gotten out of it? Most times, only a review of electoral act. That's what we get. These are people who have been elected by a defective constitution, and you are asking them to commit class suicide by declaring the constitution that elected them illegitimate. They won't do that. And that is why they should go and look at what was done in 1963. How did we get at the Republican Constitution? We got all the political parties. We got all the people to meet. Or they can go back and see what we did in 1947, 1948, 1949. You involve people at the local government level, at the divisional level, at the provincial level, at the state level, and they submit views. And in my view, the president or the executive should lead this movement. It is not something you just leave to a National Assembly that is more interested in supervising constituency projects and making money from constituency allowances. They are not going to deliver what the people want. The president should set up a constitutional review commission, and they should go around this whole country. I could remember that Obasanjo was the person who did the nearest to it, but he messed it up when they included the third term clause. They went around this country. There was a commission. I think Jerry Ghana was in charge of it. There was a commission. The three political parties there were only three parties there. They were all represented in it, and they went around the whole country and did a draft. Then this a constituent assembly was set up. The Southwest states set up a technical committee, and I was their chairman, to advise the delegates on the implementation of the views of the Southwest. And that was going very fine until somebody decided that Obasanjo must have a third term, and they smuggled it into it, and it was rejected. That is the way. You have to look at the totality of the Constitution, not what they are doing. Nobody is listening to them. Nobody trusts them. There's a disconnect between them and the people. In any case, in the last election, only 27 million people voted. That was the highest that we had. Out of 93 registered voters, only 27 million people voted, which meant there's a light distrust by at least 60 million people who didn't participate in the election. And we are talking of a nation of 237 million. So we cannot trust this assembly to do justice. They are going to perpetuate what they have been doing because it is in their interest to load the center with so much power. And it's because there is so much power and so much money. That's why they are having all that kinds of constituency projects. That's why the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs will be stealing all that kind of money. That's why the Accountant General will be walking away with 21 billion naira in a country that the per capita income is not up to 2,000.
All right, Doctor.
So we need a fundamental, comprehensive review. And I would suggest that the president, who has been involved in almost all of this thing I'm talking about, and who has been a victim of the inadequacies, the centralization, and the intimidation inherent in this constitution when he was governor, he should set up a National Constitutional Review Commission, and they should take a good look at it. It's not something that you lead to an Akpabio who democratic credence is also even being challenged in his home state. That's not the thing we want. Once you put an assembly of people who had lost connection with the people to write a new constitution, they are not going to declare themselves illegitimate. They are only going to perpetuate themselves. And that's not what I believe the Yorubas want. And I believe I am in touch with most of the current interests. Even talk of somebody like Professor Banji Akintoye. He was an Afenifere man. He was the chairman of the political commission of Afenifere. They were more interested in the restructuring of Nigeria. It is when it looked to them that nothing will happen, that they are talking to deaf and dumb people who are not listening. And that I believe a very cerebral and intelligent Akintoye now thought that the only way was to secede. But if you listen to him all through, he had never asked for violence. He had never asked for violence. He had always thought they could negotiate it through, that we will have a round table and we will discuss and we will agree to share Nigeria.
All right,
of course,
Doctor.
that's a Democrat speaking. That's different from a Dupe Onitiri, who is a nobody as far as the societal structure of Yoruba is concerned. But who wants to make name, staying wherever she is and declaring a republic on social media?
All right, Doctor, thank you. Let's just move to other matters at this time. You know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been in the saddle as the #1 man in the country for 11 months now, going to 11 months now. May 29, 2024 will make it 1 year. He became the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, taking that baton from former President Muhammadu Buhari. I'd like to ask you, as you know, a statesman, an elder statesman, and a former envoy to the Philippines, one who has been at the helm of affairs at one point in our country, how would you rate the performance of this administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last, 10 to 11 months?
How would the doctors say it? They say his condition is stable. That means he's neither well nor sick. I think that he hadn't given me the impression that he had a comprehensive plan for Nigeria, either economic or political or social. I expected his May 29th speech to have indicated the kind of vision he had for Nigeria. I had imagined that in his May 29th speech, he would have talked about this restructuring that I'm talking about. He would have looked comprehensively at the economy of Nigeria, and he would have realized that a lot of the problem we are having in Nigeria, they are symptoms of a greater problem. And that greater problem is the structure of Nigeria. Why are we having a problem with crude oil? It is structural. In America, Texas is a huge producer of crude oil. The central government doesn't bother about what Texas does with its crude oil, but they have to pay a legitimate tax to the central government. But in Nigeria, Bayelsa will produce crude oil. Then somebody from Zamfara will say that that crude oil belongs to them. It's only in Nigeria that such illegitimate and unreasonable statement can be made. I thought that the president, being very educated, being streetwise, who has been in America all this year, would know that some of this problem he was talking about in his speech, they were symptoms of a greater problem. So when he started talking about fuel subsidy, withdrawal of fuel subsidy, he ought to have known that it was as a result of a structural defect in the management of the natural resources. If it had been the Fourth Republic, those states producing the oil will be in charge of them. They'll be taking 30%, 50% or whatever they get. So they wouldn't have allowed for pilferage. They wouldn't have allowed for illegal piping. They will have policed the place. But what do they get today? 13%. And because those who don't labor for the crude oil were the one exporting them, they were the one with oil blocks, they were the one with the oil licenses, they were more interested in the racketeering and the profiteering. These are fundamental issues. So I had expected. So he immediately created a problem for himself because the Brentwood agency said that we were having oil subsidy and subsidy is wrong. As if they don't subsidize food and agriculture in America. As if in 3 years ago, they were not subsidizing electricity produced by the wind farms in Germany. But we are being told it was wrong. So he committed a little error, and we haven't gotten out of the error of the fuel subsidy because today we are paying more.
Do you think that error is little, Doctor? Do you think that error is little? You said he committed a little error, but that error has actually snowballed into the economic crisis that we are witnessing at this time.
Yes, that is it. And it's become difficult for us too. Because in 2012, he wrote a letter to Jonathan, and that was the Tinubu that I know that wrote that letter. The intelligent Tinubu that I wrote. And he said that if Jonathan withdrew the oil subsidy, it will create inflation. Today, inflation is at 33%. Sure. And we now say we are fighting to bring it down. So we have created it. Today, we say we have succeeded in stabilizing the foreign exchange rate that went from 440 in May 29 to almost 1,800. Should we have created that in the first instance? Should we have created problems for ourselves? If we had been a little bit patient, if we had looked at various options, and part of the options is that this is a country that is not producing. So why is it not producing? Because everybody is going to assemble at the end of the month to share money from crude oil, to which we are adding no value. And in the whole world, everybody is moving away from fossil sources of fuel. We know this. I know that, for example, America used to be our largest importer of crude oil, but in the last 10 years, they have not taken a barrel of crude oil. I know that by the time Jonathan was there, we're already in problems looking everywhere for buyers. I know that as we speak, we have received money for crude oil that we supply in the next 2-3 years. That is the truth. So we're a debtor nation as a result of decisions that he announced in his May 29th speech.
All right, so
I think it is time, because it's very brilliant, he should please sit down and look at the totality of our problem. Don't say the nails are not good. I'll look only at the nail. Look at the totality of the problem so we can have a comprehensive solution to it. Of course, it will be painful. There's no way you get out of the rut in which Nigeria is that there will be no pain. But Nigeria must know why they are suffering. They will know for how long they are suffering. They will know what they will get at it. But we just plunge into oil subsidy. We just plunge into the matter of the black market and the central bank rate without thinking of the consequences of the common people. Now everybody's suffering, and the economy is at a standstill.
All right, Doctor, before Femi comes up, but to be fair, Mr. President, you know, the leading candidates in the last election, all of them, you know, at one point or the other in their campaign said they will remove subsidy once they come into office. So, you know, does that not mean whether it was a Tinubu at the helm of affairs or an Obi or an Atiku, the oil subsidy will still have come, you know, into place? I mean, the removal of the oil subsidy.
You know, I was participating for some time on your sister station before the election, and I told them a choice of either Atiku or Obi or Tinubu was making a choice between 6 and half a dozen. No, they were all playing up to the World Bank, playing up to the IMF, so that they can have the endorsement of America, UK, France, and Germany. You saw all of them were running to Chatham House to go and talk to foreigners about what they would do for Nigeria, when they were not talking to us. They were not going to the Nigeria Institute of International Affairs to talk to us. They were not going to the NUJ Press Center in Abuja to talk to us about our plans. They were going abroad to tell us, because they were more interested in having the North, the consent of the foreign power that they think dominate and can dictate political trends and tendencies in Nigeria. And that is why all of them were talking about the same thing. Same sound, same song, no originality. Nobody was looking at the root of the problem, because the foreigners were not interested. So that is why none of them is as smart as Tinubu anyway. None of them is as streetwise as him. And he showed that in the election, and he outplayed them. So if they had been there, they would have done the same thing. They probably would have been worse, because probably they don't even have his experience, they don't have his connection, they don't have his network. So he's still the best of the Chinese that we had. They were all looking alike, like pygmies, intellectual pygmies, academic pygmies, in terms of the developmental plan. Even today, as opposition, except when Atiku talked about the coastal
highway,
new coastal road, that was about the most intelligent thing he has said as an opposition person. Yeah, I mean, do you get from them alternative fund? Have they come to tell you that with the economic problem we have, and this is the beauty of a democracy.
Yes.
There must be a thesis, there must be a synthesis, there must be an antithesis. I expected the PDP, the Labour Party, and the NIPP, but the NIPP is even fighting for survival in Kano, to say that the solution to agriculture, to farming, is this. Tinubu is not getting it right. The solution to power, because our power grid is collapsing every other week. This is the solution. Do you get it from them?
All right, sir.
They have no answers.
All right.
Everybody was more interested in being called president.
All right.
Nobody looked at the intensity of the problem.
All right, doctor.
Why is our power grid collapsing every time?
Yes.
Why is it that we are generating 11,000 megawatts? Why is it that we are distributing only 3,000 megawatts? Why is it that our transmission company of Nigeria hasn't the capacity to transmit 11,000 megawatts? Why is it that we are overproducing and wasting when we don't have?
All right, doctor.
You know, those are issues that I thought the opposition would be looking at and be challenging Tinubu. And if they challenge him, it will put him on his toe.
I totally
but
agree.
They themselves are incapable.
But
they're not as capable as him.
I'm out of button here. Yes, sir, because of the want of time. So many questions to really ask, because you have just talked about the opposition, and everybody knows the critical role oppositions play in democracies around the world. And, 2 or 3 questions, sir. Number one, are you saying the opposition so far in Nigeria has been dormant, or they are not existent?
I think they are dormant. They are there, but they are dormant. You see PDP is fighting with wars of survival itself. Either the national chairman is being removed, or the national chairman should come from North Central. They are struggling, or they should do something to weaken. They are not, in fact, a coherent party capable of speaking with a voice.
All right.
I look at Labour, they have faction, they can't even do a ordinary national conference, they cannot organize it to put in place a national executive. The NLC is fighting them. You know, they are not there.
All right.
And they cannot be there because they were not there.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Originally as a political party.
Yes, sir.
They were only interested in winning elections. They have not won elections. So what was driving them was to win election. Now they have not won elections, so they don't know what to do.
All right, sir.
We have dormant opposition, ineffective, inefficient, poorly driven, poor because they have no ideological orientation, they have no intellectual foundation, they have no dream for Nigeria. They should be using their dream to challenge Tinubu, challenge him on electricity, challenge him on coastal road, challenge him on education, challenge him on farming. But do they have the capacity for that?
Right.
Do they themselves and have somebody within the party who is their spokesperson on agriculture, who is their spokesperson on industry, who is their spokesperson on manufacturing? I recall that in 1982, when Shagari was messing up with our economy, Awolowo came out and said, "You are messing up with our economy, and we are going to go into intense
Please permit me to
depression."
Please permit me to abort in here, sir. I might just have to compress my question to one because we have less than 3 minutes or thereabout. The Dawn Commission, sir, I'm sure this conversation will not be complete without asking about the Southwestern integration. Now, for the benefit of people watching us, there is the Dawn Commission, and is the dedicated technocratic institution to the sustainable development of the Southwest region. The Dawn Commission was set up by the government of the Southwest state of Nigeria as an institutional and program management body to midwife their regional integration agenda. Sir, many persons will say the Dawn Commission have been quiet. We have not really had much. And you hinge at something, sir, which I'm being categorical about. We learned from the Dawn Commission a few months ago, a year about, that there was going to be this integration through the rail system across the southwestern state. We have not had much. What is going on?
I can tell you categorically that the Dawn Commission is an assemblage of the finest intellectuals, professionals that you can find in Yoruba land. But don't forget that the Dawn Commission in itself is like an NGO. The government set it up. There's not an act of government backing it. They had to keep on begging government to even give them money to pay their salaries. There had been no implementation plan. I can tell you this. Dawn Commission has, for example, a medical template for turning Southwest into a center of medical tourism. It will be Southwesterners that will be going outside. It will be others that will be coming to Southwest. They use 85 professors across the world, and they have that template. They have the template on education, I am aware. They have a template on railway, I am aware. But it's the government that will have to enact this. Amateku was their brainchild. But on each state government passed the law, that's what Dawn can do. Dawn is, what you call it, is a think tank for the Southwest. But the governors themselves have to be ready. They have to be committed to the rural integrated development, to full employment, for infrastructural development, for educational development in the Southwest. Because they are the one who will enact into law whatever Dawn sends to them.
All right.
Unfortunately, they are not doing this.
All right.
I know that even ordinary Amateku is not operating in Lagos, is half operating in Ogun State. So until you have a full commitment, and that is because this current assemblage of governors were not the one who set up Dawn.
All right, Your Excellency,
So
we have
it
to
is
go
possible they don't share the dream.
at this time. All right, Your Excellency, we have to go at this time. We would like to appreciate you for this robust conversation we've had with you. It's been insightful and eye-opening. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Yemi Farambi, former Nigerian ambassador to the Philippines. Have yourself a good day, sir.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless you too.
Well, thank you.
All right, you know, that's one thing about Dr. Farambi. He has a lot to say, and with his stature, with someone that has lots of experience and history with Nigeria as a country, it's always a pleasure to have him on board to talk about issues affecting us as a people. But that will be all for the show today. Thank you so much for being a part of our world. You can watch a recap of this edition on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Also, you can go to our Facebook page, our Twitter, and formerly Twitter, now X, Instagram pages, and connect with us at Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiola. Join us for Spring Trends coming right after this podcast.
All right. May Nigeria prosper in our time. We'll be back here tomorrow, God willing. Femi Ojo is my name.
Bye.
Bye.